It's time for the hot topic of the hour. Tesla CEO and co head of the new Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, is calling for the elimination of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Writing on X, quote, delete CFPB. There are too many duplicative regulatory agencies. The CFPB was created as part of the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act after the financial crisis.
This clip is nothing short of explosive. Elon Musk, co-head of the new Department of Government Efficiency, is taking a hard stance on government bloat, calling for the elimination of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, and possibly even the IRS. Meanwhile, we've got panelists defending bureaucracy, holding onto outdated systems, and Elizabeth Warren's legacy as a political talking point. Buckle up because Musk is not pulling any punches, and the conversation reveals some uncomfortable truths.
By Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren to oversee parts of the financial industry that interact with consumers. Some say the agency is highly politicized, damaging and unaccountable. During Trump's first term, he took steps to neutralize this agency, easing its enforcement of the banks. Musk also is asking users on X if the IRS should be, quote, deleted.
This is Musk in his element, direct and brutal. He's calling out redundancy, and frankly, he's right. How many government agencies exist to do the exact same thing? These systems do not create efficiency. They create confusion and waste taxpayer money. Why is that so hard to understand for some people?
You can see in that poll, over 60% of X users said they think the agency's budget should be deleted. John Lansky, your reaction to that? Let's start with the IRS.
Okay, the IRS could be run more efficiently without any question. Maybe their technology is dated. They can update in that sense and help save money and better serve the American people. I don't know about completely eliminating the IRS. What's going to take its place? My goodness. What are you going to have? Private tax collectors like it did back in biblical times?
Classic fear-mongering, suggesting that removing bloated agencies automatically means chaos, is such a lazy argument. Musk is not advocating for anarchy. He is pointing out that we do not need 5 agencies regulating the same thing. Stop trying to scare people with biblical tax collectors. You can do better than.
I think what he's talking about is eliminating Elizabeth Warren.
Right.
We're talking about the CPFB. So, that's okay. Elizabeth Warren, she came to fame. She became, Miss TV darling, so she thinks, after the financial crisis. Remember this, okay? I remember this. But that's all she's been able to hang her hat on. The financial crisis was 2007, 2008. We have moved on. I don't think that she has.
Ouch. But fair point. Warren built her brand on post-2008 outrage, but it is now 2024. How much of her legacy is based on actual progress, and how much is about keeping herself relevant? Musk's call to eliminate the CFPB is a direct challenge to her record, and let's face it, this agency hasn't exactly been a shining example in efficiency.
And I would argue that there's enough regulation on the books with the banking industry that you actually could eliminate that agency.
It's the best thing. In my 20-year career in government, I've seen this many, many times, and this is a very healthy discussion to have right now.
Yeah.
And what it does is it says to the existing agency, so how are you going to justify your existence? Sing for your suffer. But then it also begs the other question. If you eliminated it, would you need to replace it? And that's really the zero-sum game that you have to take a look at. What are we going to do if we don't have this functionality? But to your point, Cheryl, this is an agency that has all of the regulatory responsibilities handled by other agencies. No, that's not going to happen.
Mike is making a great point. What he's speaking about is redundancy in the federal government.
Right. Yeah.
When we have redundancy in the private sector and corporations, what happens? Certain departments' jobs get eliminated. And maybe there is room for a lot of cutting as far as agencies are concerned and individuals.
Finally, some common sense. If private corporations can eliminate unnecessary jobs to stay lean, why can't the government? The only difference is when a private company fails, it goes under. When a government agency fails, it asks for more funding. Musk's argument about redundancy is not radical, it's practical.
trillion over the next decade by reversing some of President Biden's executive actions. Now, their report notes, unlike most reduction measures, reversing costly executive actions would not require congressional action, true, and could be done through the rulemaking process.
Yeah,
Streets are
I'm
talking
thinking of the
about
auto
government
industry.
employees.
You know, the auto industry
industry.
has perhaps spent something like $120 billion on investments in being able to produce EVs and the batteries that go into the electric vehicles. They're not going to want to write off $120 billion all that quickly. So
The EV mandates, though, no one has bought electric cars.
Yeah.
The consumers rejected it. Elon Musk, of all people.
yeah, he's going ahead and he's pushing for the elimination of the subsidies that buyers of electric vehicles get. So this, I mean, you can't say that he's doing this for his own benefit.
This is a huge double standard. The same people defending government subsidies for fossil fuels are now complaining about EV mandates. Make it make sense. Musk, of all people, isn't benefiting from these handouts. He's calling for the elimination of subsidies across the board. If you're going to criticize him, at least get your facts straight.
That's important to note. He's trying to help the United States out, and maybe with his genius, he could go ahead and pull something off where we do get this $1.4 trillion reduction in the deficit over 10 years.
I mean, $2 trillion. Now, the mainstream media is scoffing at them.
You know, so what shouldn't be lost is their approach. So notice how they're going after executive orders as opposed to we're going to try to get the Congress to reject what they've done beforehand. So because they can go, if you go after Congress and you try to say, pass a law that takes out these existing laws, very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go into the executive orders, Donald Trump comes in and says, I can do this unilaterally. Obviously, he'll need support from the Congress.
Fiscal
especially from the budget.
responsibility in Washington.
This is the real takeaway. Musk's call to cut back on wasteful agencies and reduce the federal deficit isn't about ideology. It's about common sense. The government needs to stop operating like it has an unlimited budget and start thinking like a business. Whether you like Musk or not, his vision for a leaner, more efficient government makes a lot of sense. This debate wasn't just about eliminating the CFPB or the IRS. It is about a larger conversation on government efficiency or inefficiency and fiscal responsibility. Musk dominated the discussion, or his thought thereof, with bold, unapologetic arguments, while the opposition relied on outdated talking points and scare tactics. Is Musk's vision radical? Maybe, but isn't it about time we asked why we are funding so many broken systems? If nothing else, he's forcing us to confront these questions, and that's a win in itself. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep the debate going.